back to Death Before Booze. I'm Sam.
I'm Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, Sam.
Okay, so we are here this week. Is there anything new going on this week with you? I feel like we should talk about ourselves more sometimes, but some people don't love banter like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel
I
about
agree.
it.
I don't know. So, I mean, we always just are like, it's raining today. Let's just go.
What do I do with my hands? Like, that's 90% of what happens when we're here. Like,
what do we do?
And I feel like we should be doing that. But let's jump right in and just tell our stories because that's what the people came to hear. But maybe they
And you know what?
Probably not.
If you want to, you're more than welcome to do a question and answer, a Q&A with us. That's fine.
But yeah. Called an Ask Me Anything?
Yeah.
AMA. Was that like a Reddit term? Oh my God, I'm so cool. What a cool millennial. AMA.
So we are covering Rome. What happens in Rome?
Yeah.
Today.
We're covering Rome. This is episode 71. Ooh, I go first.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
You do.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say this really quick. We'll see how it goes because I've been practicing.
Oh, that's right. Sam has been practicing how to say this.
Okay.
And honestly, she's doing a great job.
Yeah, no, I'm killing it. Here we go, Cicely. Hear me out. All right. So, I am covering Chiesa del Sacro, Cuore del Suffragio, which translates to
Yay!
The Church of the Sacred Heart of Suffrage.
I love it. You did such a great job.
Fake it till you make it, bitches. That's what I just
Killing
did.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Killing it. Killing it.
My maiden name ended in a vowel. I should not be this excited that I could not pronounce an Italian word.
My maiden name and my married name ended in a vowel. So and I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
gosh.
Italian words.
Italian words. I'm bougie now.
I love it.
Okay, so construction of the church started in 1894 and it was completed in 1917. This is one of the youngest churches in Rome, and it's also one of the few neo-Gothic churches, which in my opinion are absolutely gorgeous. But the main thing about this specific church, it's a very tiny church that has an even smaller museum attached. And it houses the small museum dedicated to all things purgatory, known as the Museum of Souls in Purgatory.
Oh my God, that's cool.
What do you mean, Sam? A museum in a church all about purgatory? Tell me more. Okay, so the Museum of the Souls of Purgatory is an exhibition of documents and testimonies that would prove the existence of purgatory and the souls of the deceased who reside there who are waiting to ascend into heaven.
Okay.
Cool. So for those of you who aren't Catholic or, I don't know how many Christian runoffs believe in purgatory, but
or if you read Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, if you read Dante's Inferno, you kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. But if you don't, that's totally cool. Purgatory is a place to go after death when one is not pure enough to enter the gates of heaven and yet not soiled enough to rot in hell. It's the in-between place. A place to go to work off sin. So according to the Catholic belief, the soul is stranded in purgatory until it atones for its sins, but can hasten its ascent to heaven through the prayers of loved ones still on earth. Okay.
Oh. So if your loved ones don't pray for you, then you're stuck there?
No, it just takes you longer. Them praying kind of helps move you to the front of the line. It's think of American Idol where everybody called and you voted for your human that oh my God, I need Clay to win, even though Ruben stuttered one. Oh my God. You call, and you call. So every time you pray, it's another vote and they get to move to the front of the line to the elevator to heaven. Got it. Okay. So now how did this museum come to be? So July 2nd, 1897, a fire broke out during the construction period. And after the fire was extinguished, a priest named Victor Joust found on the wall behind the altar an image of a human face bearing a sad and melancholy expression impressed by the flames on the wall. Oh. So Victor believed that the imprinted on the wall was the soul of a deceased man condemned to purgatory. Like, the dude was in the church trying to find somebody to pray for him, and then the fire broke out, and the soot kind of gave you the impression of his face. Like, I'm so sad, I'm stuck in purgatory, please pray for me. Like that, okay?
Oh.
So, finding this image made Victor begin to think, if I can collect as much information about these souls trying to make contact with the living, I can help more people in purgatory and also pass on the messages of the people in purgatory.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And this is like a priest, like a legit, like,
that's
priest,
great.
Missionary,
he's helping
human.
people.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I can help these souls. I'm fucking amazing. Yeah. Look at me go. So he started to collect testimonials, documents, and relics from all over Europe, not just Rome, not just Italy, like all over. And he put everything he found on display in this small museum. So now this museum is literally like the tiniest little hallway. Like, if you've ever been to a Catholic church, you know that random little room that's like off of a vestibule for no fucking reason? Like, he took one of those little vestibules and made it into this museum.
Oh.
So the research was very slow, a lot slower than he thought it would be, because it's hard to prove what came from purgatory. What if it's a fake? What if it's a this? So he had to do a lot of research, ask a lot of questions, ask around a lot. But he found a few specific relics that I'm going to get to. The preserved documents would demonstrate that the deceased, having spent a certain period of afterlife in purgatory in order to purify themselves from their sins, tried to attract the attention of the living to ask them for prayers and masses of suffrage so that their passage to paradise could be facilitated. And he got this through all of his research. Like, this is what proves the thought process of the Catholic faith. Now, then again, I kind of think he's biased, so whatever information he got, he could have twisted to make it seem like this. But
I mean, yeah.
Who am I? I am just a human on this earth who has never died and can't tell you about purgatory. Well, I'm sure my soul has, and it's been reincarnated a couple times. That's a whole nother story. Let's talk about that a different day. So the collection of the museum is gathered into a single room off of the vestry in, this cool church that I'm not going to say the name again because I'm never going to pronounce it right again. The collection includes fabric tunics, skull caps, breviaries, and wooden tablets with explanations recounting apparitions of the deceased to relatives and or believers witnessed by their scorched imprints. Now, I don't understand why it always has to be some sort of scorched fire. Scorchedness, because I kind of thought fire, like, okay, Dante, but I kind of thought fire in the Catholic faith was like hell. But maybe it's just warm enough in purgatory where, like, you're sweating. It kind of feels like Florida in summertime. Like, you're not sweltering, dying, burning, but you're kind of like, ew, this sucks and I need to shower even though I just took a shower.
Right. So it's like, it's not like you're rotting. It's more of it's a nice summer beach day that you're like, this is crazy. Okay. All right.
I wouldn't even say it's a nice summer beach day. I'm going to go with it's like that summer beach day where it's too hot to be on the beach. You forgot your umbrella and the black flies are coming around. Like, it's not enough for you to be like, ew, I hate my life and everything's terrible and I'm going to die here. But it's also not comfortable and nice, like you're sitting on a cloud in heaven.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Again.
I mean,
don't know what purgatory is.
Right. Honestly, from Dante's Inferno, I just always gathered purgatory was like a holding cell, and you were kind of just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I didn't even...
Yeah.
Because they're kind of, everyone's just kind of sitting, and everyone's kind of like, and, like in the corners and stuff, and it's not like, it's not hell, but it's not heaven, and you're kind of just like the unbaptized babies are there.
Yeah, the water's too cold. You can't go in at the beach. You can't get away from the flies. That's what I mean. Like, you're just kind of stuck.
Yeah, it's just kind of like stuck. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. Think the Maitlands from Beetlejuice. They're stuck in their house, which they love. Yeah. But then the horrible Dietzes come in. Well, not the horrible Dietzes, because we like Lydia. But, like, Moira Rose comes in and tries to redo your whole house when you don't want her to.
Yeah,
but
when you don't want her
to be in your house. Yeah, like, it's like that.
That's a pretty good thought.
I mean, that's a pretty
The waiting room.
Yes.
The waiting room.
But not the waiting room with the small-headed guy. With the shrunken head dude, Bob. Not that waiting room. That's a different hell. That's a whole different hell from everything else. All right. So, the testimonies circumstantiated each have a unique history, mostly that date in the 18th and 19th centuries. They were motivated by request for prayers, a memorial mass to reduce the deceased time in purgatory and hasten their ascension to heaven. So yeah, so prayers helped, but like dedicating a mass to them kind of did more. So they're always like, can you just do a mass for me? Say a little prayer.
Okay.
Say a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, I'll get out of purgatory and go up to heaven, and I'll be at the beach. And okay, so here we are. We're going to talk about what's in the little thing, in the little museum.
Got it.
So first, there's a prayer book from 1871 with an imprint of 3 fingers that belonged to Maria Zaganti, and the fingerprints were left by the deceased Palmira Rastelli, and she was asking for prayers. Like, the woman's praying over her prayer book. Polima came, touched the prayer book, and was asking for prayers. This one's from 1789. The photograph of an imprint impressed by deceased Mrs. LaRue on the sleeve of her son Giuseppe during his appearance in Wodek, Belgium. On the sleeve. So Giuseppe's standing there. His mom touches his sleeve, or Mrs. LaRue touches his sleeve while he's in Belgium. That's what I'm getting. I wrote these. I promise. I just wrote them a while ago. So now we're all excited.
So we're all surprised.
We're all surprised. In 1894, the fire imprint left by a finger of Sister Maria di San Luigi Gonzaga, which appeared to Sister Maria del Sacro Cuore. Oh, I know how to say that because I looked it up. Cuore. Then in 1815, Marguerite Demelaire. How can I say Marguerite so well, but I can't say like my actual like native, or what should be like, you know, something. I can't say native because I'll get kicked out of this country. Anyway. All right, Marguerite Demelaire. I'm going to go with she's French. In the parish of Ellingen, her mother-in-law asked that she go on a pilgrimage. The mother-in-law's dead. To have 2 masses said for her in order to clear her path to heaven. Could you imagine? It's like when you go in the little box to the priest and he's like, you know, okay, yeah, you've atoned for your sins. Go say 17 rosaries and, you know, a couple Hail Marys. I only need 2 masses. Like, just go get me 2 masses and I'm back in heaven.
Yeah.
In order to clear her path to heaven. Marguerite asked for a sign that she was truly in She asked for a sign that she was truly in purgatory. An imprint of a hand on the book she was reading was left behind.
Oh.
Okay. Then there's a pillowcase with the imprint by fire by the soul of a nun who died of tuberculosis in 1894. She appeared to a fellow nun to convince her to pray for the salvation of her soul. And this one kind of like makes you scratch your head because it's a nun. Shouldn't nuns like have like a direct flight to heaven?
Yeah, because it's like priests. They're Jesus. They're close to Jesus.
I mean, she's married to Jesus. That's why they wear the little silver ring. Like, shouldn't I be able to like do the special code and be like, nah, man, I jumped to the front of the line and automatically get to be in the spot that is heaven? Like,
that is kind of interesting because you're right. Like, that would mean that like priests and stuff don't have the direct line to the pass go, collect $200, go straight there. You know
exactly. So like you sit there,
and that is weird.
I mean, let's all be real. We know that priests aren't all that. We know. We get it. Like,
You don't say.
What about those priests? We all know this. And I'm sure that, you know, nuns, friars, brothers, all the things are the same. But for in 1894, it to still be a thing when people were still basically purchasing their way to heaven. If you think about it, through donations and whatever they gave in the sacrilegious things, like they would have a direct line to heaven, but they don't. Yeah. So done fucked up, nuns. Anyway, fiery imprints on a cassock, which is the dress that the clergy wear. Did you know it had a name? I just thought it was a priest dress, but no, it's called a cassock. And
I didn't know that's what it was called, but I knew that there was a name for it.
Yeah, so the cassock and shirt of Isabella Fernari. She was the abbess of the Poor Clares of Todi in 1731. So she had fingerprints on her clothes. And then also in 1731, a section of wood from the desk belonging to the mother Isabella Ferrari, who was the abbess of Poor Clare's Monastery, I just said that. It bears the imprint of a hand. So the mark, which was burned into the desk, was said to be left by the deceased former abbot, a Father Panzini of the Benedictine Olivetan Order of Mantua, as a message to her, Elizabeth, that he had been suffering in purgatory and needed prayers. So now there's a priest in purgatory as well.
It is very weird. It is very weird.
Yep. One can observe a photocopy of a 10 lira banknote, partly burnt, which the spirit of a deceased priest left between August and November of 1920 in the monastery of San Leonardo de Montefalco, together with 29 other banknotes to convince his brothers to dedicate a mass to him. He was bribing them from purgatory. That's really going to get you to heaven, bud. You're doing great.
I mean...
Okay, so now
do what you got to do.
Everybody has their price. In 1789, one of the relics with the clearest imprint is a nightgown that belonged to Joseph Leroux of Woodok. Oh, this one, I did it twice. Okay, but this is like the better explanation. So it bears the imprint of the sleeve of the burn of a hand of his mother who died in 1762. So he heard noises in his house for 11 straight nights. Then on June 21st in 1789, his dead mother appeared to him during the night, reproaching him for his dissolute life that he was leading and for having forgotten her in his prayers. The son was so struck by the words of the ghosts that from then on he dedicated himself to the church, returning to the right path and even dying in the odor of sanctity. In the order of sanctity. Odor?
This is the Italian mom guilt.
How real is it? And then finally, the last relic we're going to talk about is from 1875. Luisa Le Senchal, who had died 2 years earlier, appeared before her husband, Luigi Ducci, in France. Asking for his prayers and for masses to be said in her name, she left burnt marks of 5 fingers on his nightcap. So, so Father Santangini, nailed it, says the relics in the museum are signs that tell us that we need to believe in purgatory, that this place of suffering exists, that so many souls pass through it, and also there are so many souls that are there and forgotten. We need to pray for them. And that's a little tidbit about the Museum of Purgatory.
I like that.
And it's like one of those
things. It's very spooky.
The church itself is like pretty easy to get to. Like, it's not really off the beaten path, but nobody really realizes it's there, so nobody realizes that the Museum of Souls in Purgatory is there. And it's pretty cool.
I think that's... And it is very, like, spooky. Like, there's, like, a burnt handprint on stuff.
I just can't believe that the Catholic Church was so... Look at these things. This is what purgatory is. We have nuns and priests in here. When... I mean...
It's crazy. Huh.
Okay, I know that wasn't like a true, like, legit haunting, and it was kind of quick,
no, but it's spooky.
It was just something different.
It's spooky.
Yeah,
I like
put in haunted shit in Rome, and that came up, and I was like, I mean, how do you not cover a whole museum that's hidden in a church?
And it's purgatory. So, you know, okay. So this isn't necessarily Rome, but I went into Italy, and we're talking about the murder of Meredith Kernscher, or, as people know it, the Amanda Knox case.
Oh, shit.
So it's unfortunate because the girl Meredith, her name isn't on everything. It's more like Amanda Knox and how she got fucked over. But
so
it's okay.
So I've heard her name. I know she did something bad, or I assume she did something bad because there are so many documentaries about her.
Yeah, right?
But I never really know what she did.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, I've seen her documentaries. She talks nowadays about the whole incident too. It still is kind of, the actual murder is kind of pushed aside because of how the justice system is in Italy, but we'll get to that. So
Okay.
again, it's a little bit on the longer side because there's a lot of different pieces. But if you want to know actual like crazy specific details, like trust me, there's a whole. So anyway, so Amanda was born July 9th, 1987. She was the oldest of three sisters. She was born in Washington State. Her mom was a math teacher originally from Germany, which I thought was very cool. And dad was VP of finances for Macy's.
Ooh,
so I was
fun.
like,
I used to work for Macy's.
Yeah. So mom and dad divorced when she was 10, but mom remarried Chris Mellis. Still had a good relationship, whatever. When Amanda was 15, she first traveled to Italy on a family vacation. And this is when her mom gave her the novel Under the Tuscan Sun. And she was just like enthralled with the culture of the Italian culture. So she had a lot of jobs and everything, but she was like, I want to make sure that I study abroad in Italy. Her stepfather, however, thought that maybe studying abroad by her and going by herself, she wasn't ready because she was too naive to things. But regardless, during college, when she was 20, she traveled to Perugia for the academic year. So it's not Rome, but it's,
I mean, it's close enough.
Close enough. Close enough.
It's in the same country. We're there.
Yeah. Now, Perugia, if again, I'm sorry, I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize,
Nailed
but
it.
it's a less touristy area, but a lot of foreign students house there and are put up there in their flats. She lived in a 4-bedroom flat on the ground floor called Via della Pergola, with 3 other women. Meredith Kircher was from Britain, and there were 2 other Italian trainees who lived with them. They were training to be lawyers. Ooh. So all 4 girls lived together. It was great. Amanda worked at a bar part-time. And actually, it seemed as though she was trying to get so immersed in the culture that a lot of English-speaking friends were like, she doesn't really hang out with English-speaking friends. She was trying more to be, more into the Italian culture, which, okay, whatever. You're studying abroad, get all the things you can.
If you think about it.
Yeah. Giacomo Solizzi lived in a small apartment in the building. He actually shared interests with Amanda and Meredith because Amanda and Meredith, again, are studying abroad. So he was at their flat very often. Meredith actually got romantically involved with him at one point.
Cute.
And yeah, it was just very cute. Amanda met Raphael Solizio. She began spending a lot of time at his flat. They became romantically involved. It was wonderful. Fine. And then there's another person to add more characters into the mix, Rudy Guide. And he's just a member of the group. He happened to be friends with the boys. He visited their flat often. Everyone's just kind of like platonic friends, whatever. So, November 1st, 2007, it was a public holiday because it's the day after Halloween. So it's the All Saints Day. So that's very big in Italy.
Okay.
A lot of Italian residents were away. So, including their 2 flatmates. So, Meredith had dinner with 3 other English women. She came home from watching a movie with a friend at around 8:45. Then she came back to the flat. The downstairs residents, they were all away. So, realistically, Amanda and Meredith were the only 2 in the building during this day because everybody gets a holiday. Yeah. But Amanda was not home because she was spending time with her boyfriend.
Cool.
So, the next day, Amanda returned to the flat because she was like, I'm going to grab some clothes because her and Raphael were like, we're going to go on a romantic weekend together. It's going to be wonderful. It's very cutesy. She came to the flat and the door was wide open.
Oh, no. Mm-mm. Call the police.
So she was like, I'm concerned. Also, there seemed to be a few drops of blood on the floor.
No, 911. Whatever they have, 111.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. So she regrouped with Raphael and was like, I don't know what to do. Now, okay, I understand you're in your 20s. Okay. Call the fucking cops. don't touch anything. Just. Well, he said, you know what? Call your flatmates, see what's going on, because maybe someone broke in, but maybe whatever.
No,
so she called Meredith.
The police. Like, what the
agree.
fuck? Did this kid do it when she was sleeping?
No, okay. but this is very much why everyone was like, what the fuck? So Amanda called Meredith's English cell phone because she had both. She had an English one and an Italian one. I guess that's typical for when you're studying abroad. I don't know. It confused me. Whatever.
It's like the international plan.
So, yeah. So she called Meredith. Meredith didn't answer. Okay. Then she called her other two roommates saying, hey, the door is open. I can't get a hold of Meredith. I don't know what's going on. So Amanda and Raphael
call the police. They're going to be lawyers.
I know. So Amanda and Raphael walk into the flat.
Yes.
Okay. You don't do it. And then they realize Meredith's room is locked. Okay. So they go, okay, so they're still trying to call her, because if it's locked, she's in there, right? No, she's not answering. Okay. So they try to break into the bedroom, but they can't. And then Amanda calls her mom at 12:45 p.m. who's like, hey, call the cops.
Seriously?
But like all of this time went by where you're like, what are you doing? Like, why are you, what?
Literally, you could walk outside and just start yelling help, Ayudo, and people would come out of their things and be like, what's this white bitch talking about? Like, what's this
exactly?
And then you'd be like, something's wrong in my apartment. And like, let them go investigate. You know, some big burly guinea's going to come out and be like, here I come. I'm going to save you. Because that's what they do. Everybody's like so helpful.
I agree. But also, your boyfriend is Italian. So even if you're like, I don't know the number or whatever, give him the phone.
I think he did it. He's involved.
So Raphael called Carabinieri, which is the National Gendarmerie of Italy, telling them, I guess it's like they're kind of like detective or whatever, 911, I don't know. But he's like, hey, there's been a break-in. It doesn't look like anything's taken. But, you know, like the roommate's door is locked. We can't get a hold of her. There's blood. There's a couple blood stains. We're kind of nervous. Okay. So one of their lawyer roommates is like, I'm coming there because she's Italian, so she can kind of translate. So she comes when the police come. And the police telecommunicator were trying to explain the situation because she's trying to, again, you've got this, you're right, white bitch being like, ah, and then so she's like trying to calmly explain it in Italian to them. So they discovered Meredith's Italian phone was in the flat, but her English one they couldn't find.
Okay.
This is when their roommate, Philomena, said, we need to get into Meredith's room. Something's in there. But the police said they didn't think that the situation called for destruction of property. Yeah.
So we're just... okay. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Right?
Okay. So the white bitch comes home to... a wide open door. Her shit is fucked and there's blood. We can't get into a locked room, but I'm sure there's nothing to do in there.
We don't need to break down the door. It's totally fine. So Philomena brought her boyfriend, her guinea boyfriend, who was like, I'm going to break the door down. So he does. He breaks into the door. And this is where they found Meredith dead.
How did the police feel after that?
Right? Right? There's no reason for...
Obviously.
Anyway,
Obviously.
So she was stabbed and died of blood loss from the wound around her neck. So now we have, okay, what's going on? So now...
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Would she have still been alive when, like, Amanda was fucking around?
No.
Oh, okay.
She had died the night before. She got home at like 8:45, so chances are likely that between, like, somewhere in between that night. So it's not when she was fucking around like, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, so.
What would I do if I was in America?
But no.
I would call the police. What would I do in Italy? Run around like my hair's on fire, screaming in a circle, because that's apparently what we do.
Because that's apparently what we do.
I mean,
we just. So the first detectives on the scene were Monica Nepolini and her superior, Marco Chiachiria.
Nailed it.
Marco.
Marco. I love Marco.
They questioned Amanda as to why she didn't seem very alarmed by the situation enough to call the cops
Because
immediately.
I've already been running around with my hair caught on fire for the past 4 hours. You guys just showed up. I have nothing left to yell about.
I agree. So, and also asked her about her whereabouts. So initially they brought her in for questioning and Amanda's like, you know what? It's got to be my boss who I work for, Dia Patrick Lamarba. He broke into the flat. He must have sexually assaulted and killed Meredith. I don't know, because I was at my boyfriend's flat smoking weed, watching movies, and having sex.
I mean, that sounds like a fantastic Friday night.
Yeah.
But why did she just throw her boss under the bus?
I agree. Why? I think it might have been miscommunication of language, whatever, but she did kind of throw him under the bus, which, okay. Detective Marco felt that based on the scene, the killer knew Meredith and staged it to be like a break-in. So left the door open, kind of pushed everything around. The same day that they brought in Raphael and Amanda for questioning, Rudy Guede was reported to have left. So he took off.
Where'd he go?
A little suspicious.
Where did he go?
We'll get to where he went. But he left. So be suspicious and don't be. So November 5th, this is 2 days after, 3 days after they found her, Amanda voluntarily went to the police station to give an interview. She wasn't provided legal counseling. Because Italian law only mandates the appointment of a lawyer for someone suspected of a crime. So she was just coming in, so they weren't like, you can have a lawyer. They're like, you're not suspected of committing the crime, so you can't have a lawyer.
Did they give her a translator?
I think that there must have been somebody there translating, but she did request a lawyer, and they said, well, if you request a lawyer, it's only going to make things worse for you.
Why?
I'm sorry. Again, I know you guys have listened to our episodes enough to know that me and Sam have both said, get a lawyer.
Always get a lawyer.
It doesn't, even if you're like, I have no idea what the hell's going on, get a lawyer.
Even if you have a time-stamped fucking receipt, like you were at the mall and you have multiple time-stamped receipts showing exactly where you're
on camera, that you're somewhere else.
You get a fucking lawyer. And the other thing, I don't know if I've ever said this, but I'm going to say it now, so if I've repeated myself, I'm sorry. Never offer up another explanation for what's going on.
No.
Just tell your story. Don't try and help the police. It's their job.
Nope.
Because the second
they have to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying withhold or don't come forward if you have information to help the police. That's not what I'm saying. But the second you start plotting points that aren't there in front of them, like, oh, it could have been such
you
and
look
such
a little
doing this and this. It looks like you're coming up with something to shield you from what's happening. Like you're coming up with your own story.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Which is kind of exactly why when Amanda was like, oh, it must have been my boss. It's like, no.
No, don't offer
because that's going to get you in trouble. So,
if you know my boss had a thing for such and such and he was coming around and making it weird, that's one thing. But if you have nothing to base it on, don't ever say it. It's not worth it. You're
Agreed.
Just making yourself look bad.
Agreed.
Thank you, Jack.
So, while they were questioning her, the police held her overnight and kept telling her.
But she's not a suspect, so she doesn't get a lawyer.
She was traumatized for having witnessed the murder.
But she didn't witness the murder.
She didn't witness the murder.
She came home.
So you're traumatized. That's why you don't remember anything. Like you're delusional right now. That's the reason why. And she's like,
do you have your period?
I don't know.
It's because you're a woman.
It's because you're a woman. You're hysterical. You're hysterical. But they kept telling her she was there. And that if she really try hard, you can remember these things. And if you don't try really hard, you're not going to be able to see your family again. But they didn't let her get a lawyer.
It's kind of worse than what Americans do.
Yeah. This whole thing is so then they went through her phone and they saw that her boss, who she threw under the bus, texted her because her boss, Patrick, had texted her the night before saying, hey, it's a slow night. You don't have to come in.
Ooh, fun. Night off.
So she responded, okay, thanks. See you later.
Okay.
And then she went to Raphael's and went back to the apartment. So they took "see you later" as "I'm going to see you later, and we're going to go and fuck things up at the flat." That's what they took that as.
That seems like
because they're like, "Why would you say see you later?" And she's like, "Because I work there, so
I'll see him later.
I'll see him later, like in the week."
Later doesn't mean tonight. Later can mean a week later. Right.
Agreed. So the police mistook "see you later" in her text as something's going on. So she continued to stick to her story. He texted me, said I didn't have to work. I went right to my boyfriend's apartment, and I was there the entire night.
I got high.
She didn't waver.
Watched a movie, got laid. It was great.
Right.
Great night.
The police didn't believe her, no matter what.
Okay.
So at this point, she has been interrogated for 24 hours straight. She hadn't slept. She'd been through a traumatic experience, and she said, so this is kind of where the false confessions come from, where she's like, okay, fine, whatever. I mean, maybe, I don't know. So they took that as, okay, fine, I did it. She's been there for 24 hours. You're not giving her a lawyer. You're giving her no one to speak to, and you're telling her repeatedly, you're not going to be able to see your family again unless you tell us what really happened. And she's like, I'm telling you what really happened.
What would happen if she had called like the American consulate? Was she like allowed a phone call in? Like, would they
I don't even think so. But I don't even know. Like, that would have been something that at least for me, I would have been like, I want a lawyer and I want the American consulate to help me out here, because I don't care how guilty you think that makes me look, but like,
I might have gone to the consulate before I like went to and been like, hey, this is what happened to me. And now I'm thinking of this, not in my 20s, not in the situation.
That's and because she really was like, I didn't do anything wrong, so like,
let me just help out.
Which, again, that's very nice for you to think that way, but there have been so many cases that not only that we've covered, but are a crazy amount around the world that's like, you're like, I didn't do it, so what am I hiding? And it's like, no, but they get... So it's not worth it. Save yourself, get a lawyer, and if they say no, then
I'm out. Bye.
Whatever. You can't hold me on anything. I'm not arrested. Well, unfortunately, Amanda did get arrested. So her boyfriend, and her boss were arrested and charged with murder. Patrick, however, was released because there were customers at the bar that verified his alibi, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So she threw his name in there as kind of whatever. And the text message was, see you later. Okay, fine. So Detective Marco thought the entire arrests were premature. And he was like, you know what, I can't do this. So he dropped out of the investigation because he's like, I don't feel right about this. This doesn't like,
but if
I don't think that this is right.
He'd be like, guys, no.
He's a detective. He's not the captain. Oh. He's not Captain Marco. He's just Detective Marco.
Got it.
So the other person, the other detective, Napolini, was now in charge of her first ever investigation. She had never had an investigation on her own in her career. He drops out. This is her thing. So it's a little bit,
What could go wrong?
Right.
No notes.
So,
we're doing great. We're doing great.
The first time, Amanda was able to speak to a legal counselor was November 11th. Okay, that's 5 days after she was arrested. So they just let her rot there for a while. Meanwhile,
did the lawyer speak English?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Could you imagine, like, and you're like,
I want my phone call. Telephone.
It's like that scene in Billy Madison when he's doing Spanish and the guy's like, blah, 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 blah. He goes, slow down. And the guy keeps talking. Like, that's like what I imagine. Slow down. So meanwhile, they go back. They found that our friend Rudy, who took off, his blood-stained fingerprints were on the bedding under Meredith's body.
Oh.
So they pulled him back. He went to another country. They were like, you got to come back here, bro, because we got some evidence. He was interviewed, and he said he was in the flat. Some strangers came in the home. They raped and murdered Meredith while he was in the bathroom. And he was covered in blood because he was trying to help her.
Okay.
So now Rudy's involved. So all three of them, Amanda, Raphael, and Rudy, are charged with committing the murder together.
But he said strangers.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't say that Amanda
is it funny?
and the other dude were there. He just said there were strangers. I was taking a shit. I was cleaning a dish while I was cleaning a dish. In the bathroom.
I was cleaning.
They came in. I came out when it was all done because my shit was done. And then I found her, tried to help her. It didn't work. So I went to anywhere but here.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I shot the clike. Like, that's what's happening right now. I shot the clike.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a panel of 3 judges at the end of the month endorsed the charges and ordered Amanda and Raphael be held in detention awaiting trial. So they didn't have a bond. They just sat in trial waiting. While she was imprisoned, the prosecution leaked information regarding Amanda's private life, leading to a media frenzy where authors invented and kind of created this like imaginary scenario of what Amanda was. She was she didn't get along with Meredith, which wasn't true. She was sex deprived, so she was all over the place. She was a whore. She was on drugs. She didn't, because so they created this whole thing of like she was just this evil American woman. So they even came up with a lot of the news sites called her Foxy Noxy, and were like, yes, right. So they clung on to the cutesy. They were like, well, she's a whore. She's a sex addict. She's on drugs. She didn't like her roommate. So they created this whole story, which none of it was true. But like we know how the media goes. So now in the Italian courts, if the accused opts for a fast track trial, murder cases are heard by a court d'assist or a court of assizes, which is they have jurisdiction to try a serious crime. A guilty verdict is not regarded as a definite conviction until the accused has exhausted appeal efforts, regardless of times the defendant was on trial. So,
what does that mean?
It's basically like,
so it doesn't really count as like if you get found guilty, it doesn't count until you have no more appeals left.
Yes.
Okay.
So like which is kind of strange. So even if the court says yes, they're guilty, you can appeal it and they're technically not found guilty yet. So, but you can also appeal for the fast track trial, which is a little bit different, and we'll get to what that means. But an actual trial can last many months and have long gaps between the hearings. A fast track trial, it's a special proceeding that bypasses this, and immediately you move to a conviction or an acquittal, but you can't present new evidence during this, and the sentence is reduced by half. So you can say, I want a fast trial, and let's just get it done now. You can't produce any new evidence of it, and you get, no matter what, your sentence is reduced by half.
But if I'm found guilty, I'm definitely guilty. There's no appeals.
There's no appeals.
Oh, that's a big gamble.
So there's,
and
yes.
You can't present
new
evidence. Ooh, that's a big gamble.
Right. So that's why there's like that too. So in 2009, Amanda and Raphael pleaded not guilty on charges of murder, sexual assault, carrying a knife, simulating a burglary, and theft of 300 euros, which I don't even know how much the money that is.
Why would I carry a knife if it's in my flat where I have a whole fucking kitchen?
2 credit cards and 2 mobile phones. Like, why? Okay.
I'm in my fucking house. I don't need any of this shit.
There was a separate but concurrent trial of Amanda with the same judge, with the same jury, where she was accused of falsely accusing her employer. So while she's on trial for murder, there's also a trial going on where she falsely gave information, which she did. She threw her boss under the bus, but I don't know. You seem confused, and I'm like, did I?
It's not that I'm confused. It's one of those, like, I wouldn't really consider that being a false accusation. I would say, you know, hey, like, you asked her the same question 17. I don't know, maybe my boss did it. I don't fucking know. Like, that's like...
Right.
But then again, they took see you later as, like, you know, a definitive invitation for murder. So that's what that face is for.
Yeah. So Amanda's trial, the prosecution claimed the first call Amanda had made to Meredith's phone was to see if her and Raphael, had left it behind in the bedroom. So they got in the house, see if it's there. Hence why they opened the door, or tried to open the door, prior to calling the police. When she called her mom before the police, it was to show she was acting like something bad had happened. But how would she know that something bad happened if she's completely... I mean, I don't know. My door's wide fucking open. Right. Like...
Okay.
It's the dumbest thing that she didn't call the cops. Okay, let's just agree that was her big downfall here.
I mean, I said that 20 minutes ago when you started this story.
Yeah.
So I get it. Yeah, no, definitely call the police. Call the popo.
Yeah. So there was a single piece of evidence linking Raphael to Meredith's bedroom where the murder had taken place because there were fragments of his DNA on her bra clasp. Now, his defense argued, why would his DNA be on the clasp but not on the fabric?
Yeah.
It's just on the clasp.
Why would it be on the clasp at all?
The back strap had multiple DNA samples, including our friend Rudy.
Rudy.
So the prosecution reconstructed this and said Knox had attacked her in her bedroom. So Amanda attacked her, repeatedly banged her head against the wall, forcibly held her face, and tried to strangle her. All three of them removed her jeans, held her on her hands and knees while Rudy sexually abused her. Amanda then cut her with a knife before inflicting the fatal wound and then faked the robbery.
Ew. Did we find it?
This is what... No, not yet.
Okay.
But this is their story, is that she was angry with her, which is not the case, but whatever. She and Raphael, they all went in there. They watched as Rudy sexually assaults her and then they killed her. Okay. It just seems weird as just like speaking it out loud. It seems just weird.
It seems like a lot of work.
I agree. For three people to be like, this is what we're going to do. Like, why? What'd you get out of it? Nothing. You didn't get anything out of it. Like
$300.
You know? Yeah.
And a credit card
so,
that I can't use because now everyone knows she's dead because I came back and did all that. Like,
right. It just seems, it was a matter of like the minute that they found her and she came in for questioning, they had their story. That's what. So the defense pushed that Rudy committed the murder on his own. Her lawyers said that there were no shoe prints, clothing fibers, hairs, or anything that connected Amanda to Meredith. Like, which, again, her DNA is all over the flat anyway, but not specifically.
There. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the prosecution said, the reason why is because she wiped everything of evidence.
But there's still blood and shit everywhere else?
I agree.
She left all the blood, but was able to get in between every little bit of blood and get her fingerprints and hair. She found all of her hair.
Mm-hmm. All of it.
Wow, what a fucking superhero.
So, the defense went on to say not only was it impossible to remove those traces, but only Rudy's DNA was found in her bedroom, in Meredith's bedroom.
Wow, so really Amanda had something out for Rudy because she cleaned up all of Raphael's
She cleaned up all of hers, not his.
Not his. Fuck this guy. He's the fall guy. He's our scapegoat.
His DNA was also found in a vaginal swab that they did, so that he definitely, he's there. Okay, yeah, he's there.
He's definitely there.
His bloody palm print was on the pillow that was placed under Meredith's hip. And his DNA mixed with Meredith's was on the left sleeve of her bloody sweatshirt and bloodstains inside her shoulder bag, from which the 300 euros and the credit cards had been stolen. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Both sets of, so Raphael and Amanda's lawyers requested the judges to order independent reviews of the DNA, being like,
yep, perfect.
Clearly, and there's, whatever. Okay. Well, here's the outcome, in case we wanted to know.
I'm so ready. I can't wait for what defense pulls this is. I'm ready.
It's bad. So, December 5th, Amanda was, again, 22 at this point, was convicted on charges of faking a break-in, defamation of character, sexual violence, and murder, and was sentenced to 26 years in prison.
She was
convicted? Raphael was sentenced to 25. Yeah.
Are we fucking high?
I agree.
Who moved the rock? Who moved the rock and let these people out? Put them back. Put it back. No.
This is when the U.S. gets involved, because they're like, oh, fuck, no.
Now is when we get involved? Wow, we really are
agree.
daily a dollar short half the time. Oh, my goodness.
Because they were like, not only was this like completely ridiculous, but there was a miscarriage of justice.
Well, there is.
Well, thank you for noticing.
Way to join in the conversation, USA. We're so glad you're here.
So, American lawyers expressed concern over the pre-trial public stuff that was going on about how, again, and said, you know what, all of those things about how the media kind of took off with it, said that she was like all of these crazy things, a sex addict, whatever, that needs to be excluded from the murder trial, because this is kind of where you kind of gave false information, and I feel like a lot of the jury members were tainted because of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
They also said her defense attorneys were seen as passive in the face of the prosecution's use of character assassination. They even suggested the trial was not judged on proof, but rather anti-American resentment type of thing.
Because America doesn't do that to other people at all.
No, of course not. Of course not. Well, why would we do that?
No,
why would we do that? She appealed, and the second trial began in 2010. Okay. The court ordered review of the DNA. Independent experts noted numerous basic errors in the gathering and assessment. They concluded that no evidential trace of Meredith's DNA had been found on the alleged murder weapon, which again was a knife from the flat that you're like, I could just get that. I don't need it.
Why do I need to bring a knife? I literally have a kitchen full of them. Thank you.
They're all here.
They're right here.
So they reviewed, and also they found that the forensic police examination showed evidence of multiple males' DNA fragments on the bra clasp, which had been lost on the floor for 47 days. So they got the evidence, it got lost, and then they're like, oh, there's traces of Raphael's DNA.
Wow.
What? So they were like, it doesn't matter that there's pieces of it, it's contaminated. So we can't include that. Okay. So in October of 2011, Raphael and Amanda were found not guilty in the appeal.
Excellent.
So official statements began grounds for the acquittals. Amanda had been confused by the interviews because she was under duress. And also she didn't understand the language.
Thank you.
And also evidence did not support the idea that Amanda and Raphael were there. So, okay. However, the slander conviction that she was put under for the boss was upheld. So she's going to get in trouble for that.
Okay.
So a retrial was ordered. Amanda was represented, but remained in the United States. So they were able to bring her back.
Excellent.
They still had the trial. She just wasn't there. Okay. They granted prosecution requests for analysis of previous unexamined DNA. So the kitchen knife, which prosecutors alleged was the murder weapon based on the whatever, blah, blah, When it's like it just, to me, I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking thing.
This is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
However, now both Raphael and Amanda are out because of the appeal. Okay. So March 27th, 2015, the ultimate appeal, so the final appeal option, was heard by the Supreme Court there. And it ruled that the case was without foundation, thereby definitely acquitting them of the murder.
Cool. Yay.
Her defamation conviction was upheld, so she had a 3-year sentence, which they said she already served it because of the time that they kept her in there. So, okay, fine. And the court published the report of the acquittal citing glaring errors, investigative amnesia, and guilty omissions, where a 5-panel judge said the prosecution won the original murder case to prove the whole truth, to back up the fact that Amanda and Raphael had committed the murder. So they're creating evidence and they're padding it to make it look like people are like, oh, well, they have to be guilty. So that's what happened.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
The European Court of Human Rights were ordered Italy to pay compensation to Amanda for violating her rights in the hours after her arrest.
Perfect. Excellent.
And they did pay her the equivalent of $20,800.
It's something.
For not providing her with a lawyer or competent interpreter. Okay. Meanwhile, Rudy's trial, who actually did commit the murder, he decided, I'm going to go the fast track. So they found out he was connected. They brought him back in. He was not charged with having a knife. He did not testify and was not questioned by his statements, which he had changed compared to what he had originally said.
Fun.
Rudy was found guilty of sexual assault and the murder of Meredith, and he was sentenced to 30 years of imprisonment. Mm-hmm. However, his prison sentence was reduced to 16. And he was given an early release in December 2020.
Well, yeah.
And authorized to finish his sentence with community service.
So really the justice system is just as fucked in other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of makes you feel a little bit better.
So ultimately, unfortunately, whenever you look at this, you look at like the misjudgment and the how terribly the trial was done, that you forget that Meredith was actually murdered in a terrible way by
someone she knew.
Was a friend.
Yeah, someone she knew.
So Amanda afterwards, she hosts a podcast. Nope. She hosts a podcast called The Truth About True Crime. She's a featured speaker for fundraising nonprofits such as the Innocence Project.
Excellent.
And in 2017, Knox said she's devoted herself to writing and activism for the wrongfully accused. There was actually a Law and Order episode that was loosely based on her.
I think I watched that.
Is season 22, episode 3. I don't know what it's called, but there it is.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of Lifetime documentaries about her. But 5 years after Meredith's murder, the city of Perugia and its University for Foreigners instituted a scholarship fund for her, which is wonderful.
Nice.
At least we're acknowledging her. I just feel like the entire time that I went through all of that and was like, there's all this fucking bullshit court shit, but we missed the main thing here, which was this piece of shit murdered this girl. He's out. Like, he's fucking out living his life. And it's... So, I mean, Raphael and Amanda are no longer together. Sure. I feel like if your relationship gets past that, like, holy shit.
I mean, how long were they dating? They've been together. Like, how long was she in Italy when this
I don't
happened?
think they were dating that long. That's the thing. I think it was really only like maybe 6 months. So like, then you have this horrible thing happen and you're like, holy fuck. So like, I don't blame him for being like, no offense, but I don't want to see you ever again. You know, like,
yeah, this was a very dark period of my life. We need to never talk
poor guy
again. Yeah.
So again, I really feel like, and this is the thing I learned from today. There's a couple things.
Okay.
One, I learned that purgatory actually has some kind of some fire involved in it, which is what,
that's
hence which was weird
I
because
didn't
that's
know
not what I
that.
thought of.
Yeah, no, that was very surprising to me as well.
But I also learned that, hey, if your door is open and you're like, something doesn't seem right, you call the cops.
Bitch, you took
You
mine.
don't
I
just,
learned that. Why?
you don't,
You took it from me.
but
It's
you know
okay.
what?
Always call the police.
But you know what? Always call the police. And you're right. Like how, like Sam's like, get a lawyer 101. I think that is a real course that we're going to offer.
Yeah, get and now I know, like, I'm saying this with all the love in my heart because I do have a lot of police that are very close to me. So
Yeah.
I will always believe in the police. I know that there are a lot of people in this world who don't, and I understand why. I do understand why. You know, there are bad apples.
I agree.
But I am very much for the police. Like, give it to them so it's not on you. And then
Agreed.
lawyer the fuck up. Like, that's all you need to do. Give it to them. It's not on you anymore. And then you lawyer the fuck up so that way it's still not on you. It's on somebody else to deal with it. Even if you've not done anything, even if you, like, can, like I said before, timestamp, have the cameras, do all the things. I was at the mall. I shopped here, here, and here. They have me on surveillance. I spoke to these people. Make sure you, like, tell your lawyer all that and let the lawyer deal with it. That's why we have
Agreed.
these things in place to protect ourselves. That's
Agreed.
my soapbox today. And I understand our system's flawed and shit happens and it's really terrible. We talk about it all the time on here, how people are misjudged and don't get the justice that they deserve. And it's terrible. But until we start holding everyone accountable for their mistakes and what's going on in the world, it's never going to get fixed. But going around it and doing it the wrong way doesn't help you either. So
Agreed.
try and play within the rules if you can.
And you're right. Like you want to trust that you're like, I didn't do anything, so I want to help the best I can. But like, things go wrong when you do that route. Again, like, did she need to go and get convicted of slander? Probably not.
Yeah.
3 years for a slander charge? Probably not. But like, it's all because she was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
My boss might have said this. I don't fucking, so.
I mean, the other side of that is a lot of times why police automatically think it's whomever came out of the woodwork and said, hey, I found this, or I know this, or I did this.
Right.
Is because a lot of the times a murderer will return to see the aftermath of what they did.
Yeah.
Like, it's been proven that, 9 times out of 10, if you're having a missing persons thing and everybody comes together to go find the missing person in the woods, the murderer's there as well. It's just a proven fact. So, of course, they're going to look at everybody under a microscope and just start building a case on whomever they can scratch together to try and fix it as quickly as possible. Because what is it? Like, the first 48 hours, if you don't have enough information, you're going to get stonewalled.
Yeah. And I mean, and at certain cases, too, that even we've talked about, even ones that we're going to talk about, there's pressure. There's police pressure that's like, get something done here.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. So they're going to find something. They find some angle.
Resistance. Again, why you get a lawyer.
Which, again, is not always the right thing. And you're right. There are bad apples in there. But, like, when you're getting pressure from your boss being like, everybody's panicked, do something.
Yep. It's sad.
So, it sucks.
Okay, friends. Well, this was enlightening in many ways. We definitely did 2 very different directions. Like, I had no murder in mind at all. Like, usually
but I liked the purgatory. It's so it's like very spooky and unsettling. But I like it.
Yeah, now you're stuck in purgatory and you're trying to get people to pray for you. I just need 3 more masses. Just 3 more masses.
And you could be in purgatory and be, close to Jesus.
Yeah.
Who knew?
How close are you if you're stuck in purgatory? I don't know.
Who knew?
I kind of feel like, and this could just be me, that if you are a priest or somebody of the clergy and Jesus doesn't want you right away, you really failed and you should just automatically go to hell. Like, that's where it's do not pass go, do not collect $200. If there is a question about you, like, I get you're still a human and you still fuck up and make mistakes, but if you're dirty enough to be stuck in purgatory, I think you're dirty enough for hell. Because.
Yeah, I agree. I tend to agree with that.
I also feel, and this is me, like, this is me spouting now, that if you are of the clergy and you go in the little box and you get your 27 rosaries and 14 Hail Marys and 7 Our Fathers, and you have to say those to be forgiven, you should either have to do double time or it's still kind of stuck on you, because you should definitely know better.
You know, that's fair. And I don't think you're right. Like, praying for me and having 3 masses said for me is going to be enough. You know, I'm just,
All
you're right.
I'm just, every time there's a mass for you, your soul goes to like the car wash, and it's like, oh, I'm a little bit cleaner, but I still got this ding. I gotta go to get a tune-up. Come on.
Gotta get another clean.
Like
gotta
go.
Go.
Monopoly Go, and every time you hit something, like, you get money, and like, I just need, like, every mass is like 2,000 points. I just need 2,000 more points to get to this part. Like, you know, there's the big like thermometer, like when they're raising money for charity, it's like filling up little by little. You have little like Sims walking around with these little thermometers, and it's like, please.
I like to think of it like that.
I mean, like, that's now how I'm thinking about it.
Fill your thermometer today.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay.
Oh,
well,
my goodness.
If you want more fuckery like this, because you're all caught up now, make sure to go visit our Patreon. You can get there at our website at deathbeforebooze.com. Click on Patreon. Subscriptions start at $5 a month. You can also get our merch when you go over to our website. Just click on merch. It's over there. We're revamping our merch a little bit. So go take a look. We're figuring it out. Then
that's fine.
What else do I talk about over here? Oh, make sure that you rate, review, subscribe us everywhere. Spotify and Apple really help us out, but you can also rate us and all that on Facebook. I think you can put up nice things about us on Instagram. Make sure you tell your friends. If you watch us on YouTube, make sure you hit the little bell so that way you know when we post new videos. And I know there are other things, and I forget every week to look them up what I'm supposed to say. But here we are. We're long enough. I love you all. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Love you guys. Stay spooky. Bye.